You ever feel the barrel of a gun pressed cold against your head and absolutely know that the man holding it would rather you just disappear? That's how my story starts, and I promise you, this isn't just about me. It's about every time power tips its hat to cruelty and thinks nobody's going to notice, but sometimes, sometimes you pick the wrong man to try and break. That morning, I was just a guy on his way to visit his wife's grave. July 7th, a date tattooed on my memory like the smell of her favorite perfume or the sound of her laugh on our front porch when the world was still whole. I wore an old navy polo and khakis driving the Taurus she left me because it felt like maybe she'd still ride along. The sun was harsh Alabama air thick enough to chew, but I kept my windows down anyway, letting the wind rush in hoping it might carry a memory or two. So when those red and blue lights lit up behind me, I checked my speed 53 and a 55. No rolling stops, nothing burned out, no reason at all except maybe the way I look or the way this world sometimes turns. I pulled over hands at 10 and 2 just like my father taught me. In the rear view, I could see two men in the squad car. One big, thick-necked chewing a toothpick, radiating that kind of authority you don't earn, you just demand. That was Sergeant Donnelly. The other officer, Cruz, looked like a kid nervous new. I caught his eyes for a second and saw something, maybe doubt, maybe fear. Rick swaggered up to my window, hand on his pistol, didn't even say hello, just barked for license and registration. I gave him both. Christopher Hawthorne. Huh? He stared at the name. What are you doing on this side of town? I told him I was headed somewhere private. He curled his lip, spat some comment about my dead wife's car. I kept my mouth shut. Then he said he smelled weed. Let me back up a sec. I've never even smoked in my life. But to him, that was probable cause enough to yank me out of my own car, throw me on the hood, start searching like he was digging for gold. His hands rough, his words ugly. Cruz hovered by the cruiser, shifting from foot to foot, wanting to say something maybe, but staying silent. That's almost worse, you know. Rick found nothing, of course he did, but when he came back, I watched in the side mirror as he slipped a little baggie from his vest under my seat. He set me up just like that. Looks like we got a controlled substance, he said with that oily little grin. I turned to Cruz. You saw him. You know this isn't right. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Then Rick pulled his gun, pressed it to my head while I knelt on that gravel, his voice all hiss and hate. Got any last words, hero? My voice didn't shake. Do you realize what you're doing? That made him angrier. You want to play lawyer? Let's see how far your talk gets you. I turned my head just enough for Cruz to hear. You have a dash cam running, right? He flinched. Title 18. Section 242, I said, calm as I could. You both are in it now. Cruz shifted, finally mumbled, Sarge, the dash cam is on. Rick hesitated, the gun lowered, and that's when I knew the story wasn't going to end out there. He cuffed me tight and dragged me to the squad car all the way to Oakfield PD, gloating the whole drive. He booked me for resisting arrest, possession, threatening an officer, layered lies on top of lies. I didn't fight. I didn't curse. I waited. Because if you know the system, you know you don't beat it with rage, but with the truth, and you gotta have the receipts. Booking was a slow burn. Old computers, yellow lights, cracked plexiglass, a badge number here, a camera unplugged there. I watched, remembered, waited. I told the desk officer, you already have my name. He raised a brow. You want to do this the hard way? Rick swaggered in. Don't waste time on him, Ron. He's got an attitude problem. He smirked, leaning close. You think you're somebody, but you're nobody here. Funny I said you think I'm alone. They threw me in a holding cell. Cruz lingered outside, guilt written all over his face. You have a chance to do the right thing, I told him. He swallowed, didn't answer. 5 minutes, one call. I dialed a number from memory. U.S. Marshal's Office, Agent Monroe speaking. This is Hawthorne Code Black. Echo Niner 02. Her tone changed instantly. Where are you, sir? Oakfield PD dash cam 706, secure now, we're dispatching. I hung up and waited, hands folded, slow breaths. About half an hour later, the air changed. Black SUVs in the parking lot, agents, some FBI, some marshals coming in fast. Chief Hanlon blustered at his desk, but Agent Monroe handed him a warrant. Federal jurisdiction override, lockdown now. Donnelly, coming out of the break room with chips, went pale. You must be joking. All this for one guy? Monroe's voice was cold. Not one guy. You're holding a federal judge without cause with falsified evidence. That's a federal offense. Rick tried to play it cool, then realized who I was. Deputy Director Grant of the FBI stepped up. You pointed a gun at a federal judge, Donnelly. The color drained from his face. I stepped out, escorted by two marshals' eyes straight ahead. As we passed Rick Cruz and the others, nobody said a word. They didn't need to. The world was turning under their feet. The fallout was fast and ugly. Evidence swept personnel files, pulled complaints that had sat gathering dust for years now, front and center. Turns out Donnelly wasn't just a bad apple, he was the rot at the core, but he didn't rot alone. Chief Hanlon had covered up for him, signed off on bad reports, protected the blue line no matter who got crushed beneath it. The dashcam footage sealed the deal. You could see everything: Rick planting evidence, drawing his gun, sneering like the world owed him something. Cruz's silence on the video haunted him. He eventually called Agent Monroe, voice cracking, I'll testify. Everything not just about Donnelly, about Hanlon too. That took guts, or maybe just enough shame to make a man finally stand up. DOJ built the case. Internal Affairs found missing evidence. Untested kits, files gone missing. Turns out Oakfield PD had a whole system for hiding what didn't fit their story. The FBI swooped in, Hanlon cracked, turned on his own to save himself. Handed over gray files that tracked the cover-ups all the way back. They called it the Oakfield collapse. CNN, MSNBC, even Fox ran with it. The whole country watched a little town become ground zero for reform. The trial was something else. I sat at the witness stand, laid it out. He pulled me over for driving while Black threatened my life-planted drugs. I stayed silent because it shouldn't matter who I am, a judge, a janitor, it shouldn't matter. The dash cam played the jury, saw it, heard Donnelly's voice. Then Reyes, his old partner, took the stand and admitted Donnelly kept confiscated drugs to plant on suspects, called it cleaning the streets faster than the courts ever could. Some in the courtroom cried. Some just sat in stunned silence. Even the old chief came out of retirement, took the stand and said I was part of the problem. We protected our own. The last walls fell. Donnelly testified in his own defense, tried to play the hero, the man following his instincts, but when Laura Beck, the prosecutor, hit play on that dash cam audio, it was all over. She cornered him. You planted evidence on a federal judge, then threatened him with a firearm. Do you deny that? He broke finally. I didn't know who he was. You think that makes it better? Jury didn't take long. Guilty on every count. Falsifying evidence, assault with a deadly weapon, obstruction of justice, deprivation of civil rights. Rick just sat there, hollowed out, not a word left in him. When I stepped outside, reporters swarmed, cameras everywhere. Today wasn't about me, I said. It was about accountability. That no badge is above the law, no victim too small to matter. 3 days later, the Department of Justice announced the Oakfield PD was being dissolved, rebuilt from the ground up. Every single case touched by Donnelly was being re-examined. And for the first time, the people of that town believed maybe, just maybe, change was possible. I stood at Emily's grave that morning, lilies in hand. We did it, I whispered. Not for me, for all the ones who never made it to a courtroom, who never got to see justice walk in the door. DOJ named a legal initiative after her, the Emily Grace Initiative, Free Legal Aid for Victims of Police Misconduct. That was her spirit, the reason I never quit. The world didn't get fixed overnight, but for the first time in a long time, it felt like it could. You know what I mean? The story's not just mine. It's every person who's ever been told to shut up and take it. If you're out there, if you've ever felt powerless, silenced, threatened by the ones supposed to protect you, speak up. Justice is slow, but it's real, and it needs you. If this story fired you up, comment, share it. Let your voice be heard, because silence isn't safety, it's surrender. And that's not the world I want to live in, or the one I want to leave behind. So what do you believe? What would you do if power pointed a gun at you and said, "Last words"? Let's talk about it. Justice is a journey. Walk it with me.
Xin chào các bạn, mình là Trinh, mình phụ trách viết content. Trên đây là những công việc của mình, là mình lên mạng xã hội tìm hiểu những video
Next one? Alright. Thank you, man. Hey, if you guys have any trouble, let somebody know. Please.
After the tree to hold on to.
Yeah, they're on the fence.